the Hyperions. Technically, the Daily Wire's third film, and the one that was released after the good film Shut In. Now, I'm doing these back to back. Even though these movies were released, I think a month between each other, as they've put a trend together. The Daily Wire has for putting their movies for free as a premiere on YouTube on Thursdays, and I watched the premiere of this film. Now, in summation, okay, I'm going to do the summation right now. It was a positive film. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I feel like it was just like Shut In. It was a solid movie, but not a good or a great movie. Now, here's a rundown of the statistics for the movie itself. This came out about a week ago from me recording this. So on IMDb, out of 700 ratings, average of 6.3 out of 10. Rated R, and that's an hour and a half. Now, the rating is a bit weird. There is some violence, there's some blood, and for the Christians out there, there's an OMG, in there too. But there's really not that much language. And there's no sex or absolute gore in this film. There is blood. So this movie was given a rated R rating, which was kind of weird. I thought it would have been PG-13. I would have movies rated R more than language than violence, in my personal opinion. But that's besides the point, because the advertising for this film was also a little bizarre. You see, after the premiere of Shut In came out, they released the two trailers for the next two films. This one, The Hyperions, and an upcoming Western they made called Terror on the Prairie, which I'm excited for. This one, when I saw the trailer for that one, however, I wasn't too ecstatic about it. I'm like, kind of like people were calling it like a Wes Anderson type film, like using his style. So I was like, okay, I'm not that interested in it, but I'll watch it anyway. I'll see what happens with this. So a month passes and it comes out. And to describe this film, just put it in one word: mediocre. Why is this film mediocre? Well, for one, the acting is balanced. And what I mean by balanced is there's some good and there's some not so great acting. So I recognized two people from this film. Kerry Eels. Is that how you pronounce his name? Elwes? Anyway, he was known for being in Princess Bride. And he brought a lot of charm and charisma. And people were pointing out that he brought, someone mentioned that he was like a mix between Walt Disney and Francis Xavier from X-Men. And I could see that. But I really liked his character. He was he was a nice old man, who was hard sometimes. But and then I recognized Tanner Buchanan. He had a small role in this film. He didn't appear much. But people were like, oh, it's the kid from Cobra Kai. That was that. The other acting in this movie was kind of, So what this movie is about, there might be spoilers. So if you really want to get spoiler free, cover your ears. But what it is basically about, it's like a 1950s, 60s type style of film, which I thought was really interesting. And it's set during the 70s, actually. The latter part of the movie is set during the late 70s. But it's about a professor, and he comes up with these so-called Titan badges, which grant, the wearer of these badges, powers, basically, as he, fuses DNA or whatever. But then the problem is that he has to go through, I think, quote-unquote, generations of these three Hyperions. And there's one Hyperion who wanted her Titan badge back, and in so doing made a huge mess of things. And basically it's a story of, redemption and, put family togetherness. It's basically the message of it. Also, there's a little bit of a thing now. We've seen a trend. So through the three Daily Wire films, I have not seen the first one, Ride, Hide, and Fight. I'll probably watch that soon. But there's a theme so far going on with the Daily Wire movies, is the themes of family and a strong female character, but not in the sense of a modern term. More like the woman female character is a badass, but at the same time she has these severe weaknesses, which you don't see in other modern films. They're very vulnerable at the same time, which is interesting, which is what I'm also kind of expecting again for their fourth movie, Terror on the Prairie with Gina Carano. That I'm excited for. But so far they've only had, the female lead characters. And I think what they're trying to do is trying to show that, women can play strong roles in a movie, but at the same time be a woman. I see what they're trying to do there with that. And and it kind of works actually, much better than, as I said, what Hollywood is putting out. So overall, this film is okay. Would you watch it? Sure, fine. I'd also base movies based off watchability, like how would I watch it again? And I'm not quite sure. I will only watch this movie once, so I'm kind of stuck in the middle there. So I'd give it a solid B. It's a solid movie. There's not, the storyline isn't something, crazy. There is a slight small twist, but it's not that much. And it kind of felt like a safe movie for me. Like, the main problem I thought with this movie was that it was the advertising, as I mentioned before. And the advertising of this movie, it was supposed to be a family movie, it was supposed to be a drama, it was supposed to be a comedy all in one. However, it kind of did and didn't fail to be all those three things. But my biggest one was that it wasn't as funny as I was expecting it to be. So that is a negative for me on that. I mean, sure, it had some drama, but there wasn't much. And then again, there wasn't as much action as I was expecting either. So there is that for this movie. But overall, a solid film. Would I recommend it? Yeah, if you're interested in like a PG-13 movie. It's not much swearing, no sex, This would be a solid film. It's not great, it's not perfect, but it's not bad and it's not horrible either. So definitely a movie to watch if you're bored, that is. Godspeed.